turn to 2 Peter chapter 2. All of those questions for Lot. And we read the passage, and these are the kind of things that come to your mind. How could you do this, Lot? How could this happen, Lot? And try not to ask that from some sort of like self-righteous, like I would never do that. But wow, this is the Bible is revealing to us that this is what Lot did. How could this be? How did you get here? But there's another question that we have in 2 Peter chapter 2. I'm going to read beginning in verse 4. And this is a question not for Lot, but it's a question for the Lord. And the question is this: Lord, why did Peter call Lot righteous? 3 times. It says in 2 Peter chapter 2, starting in verse 4, "For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and he did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them to destruction, making an example to those who afterward would live ungodly." And these words, verses 7 and 8, "And delivered righteous Lot, who was oppressed by the filthy conduct of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them tormented his righteous soul from day to day by seeing and hearing their lawless deeds." And then it says, verse 9, "Then the Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations and to reserve the unjust under punishment for the day of judgment." Now let's talk about the context here for a moment. It's God, through the Apostle Peter, telling the saints, we know judgment is coming. And we know God has shown how he can bring judgment. He judged angels, not just people. He judged angels who rebelled. He judged the world in Noah's day, and he judged Sodom and Gomorrah in Lot's day. And we see that he can preserve the good angels, even when he judged the evil. We see how he could also preserve Noah and his family when he judged all the world. And we see how he could preserve even Lot and bring out Lot's wife and 2 daughters in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's not just that God is going to bring judgment. He's saying this: God knows how to. What does it say in verse 9? Look at the words in verse 9 again. "The Lord knows how to deliver the godly," look at this, "out of temptations." He's going to get Lot out of there. He knows how to do that. Peter's point is that God is going to bring final judgment one day, again, like he did with the fallen angels and the flood and the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And God will, at the time of final judgment, even as he did in those days, spare his people that terrible judgment. But it's puzzling, to say the least, that 3 times the Lord refers to Lot as righteous. How can he do that? Peter's words are puzzling because in Genesis, Lot is hardly notable for his righteousness. It's also not the point of the Genesis account. He seems worldly and weak, and he had to be dragged out of Sodom. Let me say that the most important thing for us to remember here at this point is that Peter is writing under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, which means he's writing what is true, no matter how puzzling it may be to us. The Spirit of God is using Peter to record for us, here's some things about Lot's life that you didn't know. It doesn't mean all those things Lot did, they weren't really marks of like unrighteousness or compromise. They really were compromises. Peter knows what Lot was like, not because he was there back in Genesis 19, but because the Spirit of God revealed it to him as he wrote these words.